more and more Kai Havertz has played, the more confidence he's got, you can see why he's so key for Arsenal. And I'm going to break that down in today's video in the easiest way possible for you guys to understand why Havertz is actually really key to what Arteta wants to do, why he's becoming better and better, will become better and better, what he brings. But also something myself, first couple of games of Kai Havertz, I was like, but I can see a little bit of what he does, but it's so minimal and it's so off the ball that I understood why a lot of Arsenal fans weren't sure what Kai Havertz is bringing. But I think if you've watched Kai Havertz these last couple of games, I think most Arsenal fans now are starting to see, okay, this is what Kai Havertz is bringing. Like, as a Manchester United fan, I am saying this as a perspective of watching Kai Havertz. I think he brings a lot, but a lot of it is off the ball that you don't notice. But I think people are starting to notice it now. So getting into the point of the video, why is he key for Arsenal? Well, you've got to think about this. Arteta said this back in August 23rd, 2023. We have that flexibility now, and we have the capacity to rotate and accommodate players in other positions. We're going to be more unpredictable. And Arteta says his formation and tactics are going to be more unpredictable this season. Arteta's goal this season was to be unpredictable. And essentially, Havertz allows Arsenal to be unpredictable. One of the reasons Liverpool have been so successful this season is because they're unpredictable. They could bring on Harvey Elliott, they can bring on Gavin Birch off the bench when everyone's fit. Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, very different style players. Harvey Elliott can come off the bench. Nunes and Gakpo can both play in the middle, very different style players. Nunes can play out wide, very different style player to Diaz. Jota can rotate. And Liverpool have been really good because they've changed things in second halves and become unpredictable. And to be a top team, you need to be unpredictable. And that's what Arteta's trying to do. And he said that on Havertz's role. He said, I don't want to stick Havertz into one position. I prefer to do that with other players as well, because you become more unpredictable that way. You open their options, you open their minds to other things and explore that. We have examples of that in the squad. And Arteta even said himself, the role of Kai Havertz is to be unpredictable. And this is exactly what Kai Havertz has brought to Arsenal in these last few games and why he's key. Because Havertz is sort of operates as a left centre mid and attacking midfielder, sort of centre forward, in a more of a floating role. And his ability to switch positions in game, you see versus West Ham, he dropped deep because West Ham had a very physical midfield to win the balls in the air, and then he would make runs forward. And Havertz being in this floating role where he's not really in a set position, but he can alternate between a few positions and sometimes starts as a left centre mid, sometimes starts as a centre forward, means that he's very unpredictable, because you've seen Trossard and Havertz rotate, you've seen Havertz make runs in behind, you've seen Havertz go out wide and drag the centre back with him, you've seen Havertz drop deep. But one of the reasons Havertz is so unpredictable is because he makes these box runs that sort of centre backs don't really know how to deal with. And when he makes these box runs, the centre back has to go with him, and they don't know how to deal with that, and it's difficult to mark. When he makes runs outside, when he makes runs and drags a player with him, he opens up space for other Arsenal opponents. And because Havertz is so unpredictable and his movement's so unpredictable and his role's so unpredictable, it makes Arsenal incredibly hard to defend against. And this has been seen lately since Arsenal scored 25 goals in their last 5 games or 6 games, because they're really struggling with Havertz's movement. Zinchenko and Ben White inverting at times also makes Arsenal unpredictable. I think Raya has given Arsenal the ability to change and build up, and they've changed their shapes and build up from a 3-5 to a 4-2, which is making them more unpredictable. Havertz giving them the ability to go long over the press makes them more unpredictable. Jorginho Rice pivot is very different to a Rice Havertz Odegaard pivot. I don't know why it says Jorginho there. And Arsenal becoming a more unpredictable side. And Arsenal have struggled to break down the low block this season. That's probably been Arsenal's biggest weak point, but the more unpredictable they come, the harder it is for defenders to defend against them, which I think is what Arteta's goal was, as he was saying at the start of the season. So why has Havertz been unpredictable, you may ask? Well, this is Havertz's heat map versus Newcastle when he played as a centre forward, and this is Haaland's heat map. Haaland as a centre forward is very high at the pitch, very much in the box, bosh. Havertz as a centre forward, he's a bit of everywhere. He's making movement a lot in that left half space. He's going out wide a lot. And when he goes out wide, Havertz will drag the centre-back with him. When Havertz goes out wide, the centre-back has to follow Havertz because Havertz is 6'4", the centre-back needs to mark him physically. So then when the centre-back's dragged out of position, the centre-back is now defending in a wide area. And most centre-backs aren't comfortable defending in wide areas unless they're an expert in that, like someone like Hodebo, who's good at defending wide space and has got a lot of recovery pace, which means that then 1v1, and the centre-back is going to be less comfortable, but also the centre-back's dragged out. So then if you do put a cross into the box, there's going to be one less centre-back in the box, and it'll be easier for Arsenal to score in the box. And that's an example of what Havertz movement provides. If you look at Kai Havertz at left centre mid, he played left centre mid versus Burnley, and you compare that to Xhaka, who was sort of in that left centre mid role. Kai Havertz allows Arsenal to be more attacking. There's been a lot of questions about Xhaka was on the ball a lot. Xhaka saw the ball a lot. Arsenal maybe didn't look as pretty in possession. Now they've lost Xhaka, and they do need a left centre mid. Arsenal, I agree with that. But Xhaka, as you can see, he's in the further one. He's been more defensive. Xhaka took up much more defensive positions, was very rarely getting in the box. As you can see, that left half space, big red dot, Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz allows Arsenal to be a more attacking side. They've now got Declan Rice, who's probably arguably the second best DM in the world after Rodri, which basically allows Arsenal midfielders to push further up, because Declan Rice can just do everything. He's that good, and you can always have Zinchenko and Ben White and Vert to help him. And Arteta wanted to play with midfielders higher up the pitch, because if you win the ball higher up the pitch, you're going to create better quality chances. And Kai Havertz is higher up the pitch, he's more of a goal threat, and it will also help Arsenal create more chances. You can look at sort of different role that Kai Havertz played, but he was a midfielder. But this time he's actually dropped deep into, and his heat map is deeper in deeper areas, showing his defensive contributions to Arsenal. Versus West Ham, even though Arsenal won 6-0, Kai Havertz was indirectly involved in so many of their goals, so many of the shots. He was so key to them, because Kai Havertz dropping deep, and no player won more duels on the pitch than Kai Havertz. No player won more aerial duels than Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz was winning everything in the air, winning every duel. He was in a role where he was going to be deeper for Arsenal, and that allowed Arsenal to regain possession. So not only is Kai Havertz unpredictable, but he allows Arsenal to regain possession. And if you want to attack, you want to transition, because I think Arsenal, with their pace and wingers in behind, are very good in transition. You need to regain possession and move it quickly. And that is what Kai Havertz did. He actually, I believe, regained possession more times than anyone versus West Ham, but also I think was key to the most or second most shot leading actions, which we'll get into. You look at the Arsenal game, Kai Havertz played centre forward here, and Konate for me is one of the best centre backs in the league. He's absolutely fantastic, but he really struggled versus Kai Havertz, because Kai Havertz was running all over the place. He wasn't staying where Haaland stays in the traditional centre forward role. He was dropping deep to win those second balls, win those first balls, win those balls. So Arsenal kept possession, which made it really hard for Liverpool to get into Arsenal's final third, because if they were going long, Kai Havertz was winning it, but they also couldn't break Arsenal down on the ground, because Arsenal were set up so good structurally. And because Kai Havertz was kind of everywhere, Konate was getting dragged all over the place. That was opening up gaps between the Liverpool backline for Arsenal to attack into, and Arsenal scored goals, and Arsenal played their best football versus Liverpool. But also that was dragging Konate out wide, and eventually Konate got sent off because he couldn't deal with Havertz. And Konate is one of the top centre backs. And when you look at sort of the importance of Havertz's unpredictability, I've kind of wrote down a few things of what it brings. But first, I wanted to quickly show this. This is number of involvements in open play, shot and sequences, and you can see build up to shot. Kai Havertz was involved in 7 build up sequences to shot. Only Martin Odegaard was involved in more, and Martin Odegaard was the man of the match by a long way versus West Ham. But it showed there that Kai Havertz had 2 shots, he created 3 chances, which is really good. He had 12 involvements in open play, shots, chances, but also was involved in the process leading up to 7 shots. And he was playing on quite a deep role versus West Ham, as I showed you his heat map, and he had that much involvement in attack. So I want to talk about the importance of Kai Havertz's unpredictability, because the purpose of this video is talking about why Arteta needs Havertz, because Arteta wants unpredictability, and that is what Havertz brings. Arsenal, since the January break, have scored 25 goals in 6 games, and Havertz's off-the-ball movement has been directly involved in a lot of goals. You look at the Odegaard ball versus West Ham, fantastic goal from Odegaard, and not going to take that away from him, but Kai's off-the-ball run opens up space for Odegaard to find the shot in between. There's multiple goals that Arsenal scored where Kai Havertz has made an off-the-ball run, dragged a player with him, and that space is open to play another Arsenal player through, to get the ball to an Arsenal player, for an Arsenal player to get that shot off, because it blocks the defender getting in the way of the shot. As I said, Havertz was involved in the build-up to 7 shots versus West Ham, despite playing the deeper role. One of the most duels versus West Ham, so not only is he involved in movement to allow Arsenal to, shoot and to allow Arsenal to find space, but also when he's winning the ball back so much and in high areas of the pitch and playing the ball on, Arsenal are going to create better quality chances. If Kai Havertz is winning the ball high in the pitch, Arsenal playing on Kai Havertz, he wins the ball, he holds up the ball in high areas of the pitch, Arsenal are going to have the ball more in high areas of the pitch and make better quality chances. And I've noticed that him and Trossard often rotate, with Trossard sometimes dropping into midfield when Havertz darts forward, and then Havertz dropping into midfield while Trossard is in the box, which again makes Arsenal unpredictable. And Ten Hag, sorry, I've been talking about Man United too much on my main channel because I'm a Man United fan, but Arteta said this on Kai Havertz and Trossard. He said integrating them in today's game. He said it's something very different, and the way I had the game in my head, the spaces, the behaviours that they have, how we could hurt them the most with Leo and Kai in these positions, and we saw that. Leonardo Trossard and Kai Havertz rotating in that West Ham game was like so key behind Arsenal's win. Continue on, Kai Havertz is not only everything else I've just mentioned, I don't want to be too repetitive, but he's also a goal threat. And I think there's a lot of talk about what they missed with Xhaka and what Kai Havertz can't do that Xhaka can do, and that is possession, retention, defensive stuff. Xhaka's going to have a lot more touches, Xhaka's going to do a lot more on the ball. But you've got to remember, Arsenal have so many quality players in possession, like Declan Rice, Odegaard, that actually Arsenal are in a position where they can have someone that isn't naturally as good in possession, like Kai Havertz, but they want someone that's good out of possession because they've already got loads of good players in possession, in build-up, so they can take that risk with Kai Havertz. And what Kai Havertz brings that Xhaka didn't was he allows Arsenal to play over the press. They can go long over the press instead of having to build up along the floor because he can hold up the ball. He can hold up the ball in high areas. He wins a lot of duels. He's got an aerial presence. He can make runs into the box. He makes box runs. He's a goal threat, and he opens up space in the final third, as we said. And one of the things I noticed about Kai Havertz, even in his early Arsenal days, before he got his first goal, there was about 4 or 5 occasions where Kai Havertz could have scored before he'd even got his first goal for Arsenal, because he was making dangerous runs, because his reading of the game is good, because his all-round play of the game is good. He was making a lot of dangerous runs. And here was an example of Odegaard playing it into Havertz here, and then obviously versus Newcastle, Havertz made the run there to get the goal, but there was times where he's made these runs and not got the goal. Havertz is very intelligent with his runs. He gets a lot of shots off in key areas, and if he was more clinical, he'd probably have 5-6 more goals this season, because he's got the IQ to find the runs. And I think with confidence, he's getting better and better, and you can see he's making the right runs, he's making the right movements, he's making the right decisions. The more confidence he gets, the more execution comes off, and he's getting better and better, and he's looking more and more like the Kai Havertz of Bayern Leverkusen. And sort of looking into Kai Havertz and sort of looking into his general play, his link-up play is also very good, which is probably better than Xhaka in terms of final third link-up play, because he played Trossard in here versus Burnley, which resulted in Trossard winning a penalty and Saka putting it away. And I kind of did this to highlight the importance of Kai Havertz. He makes those runs from the midfield into the forward line, which is difficult to track, which is the main reason that McTominay scored a lot of goals for United, because it's easier for a centre-back to mark a centre-forward than it is to mark a midfielder like Gundogan did, like McTominay does, who then comes into the attacking line and scores the box-crashing runs. He always gets into the danger area. Havertz, he overloads the box. He makes those runs. It makes it incredibly difficult for defenders to deal with. He helps with final third retention. While he doesn't help with build up in deeper zones in the first and second phase, he helps with final third retention because he can hold up the ball very well, allows Arsenal to play with the press, wins back possession in high areas for Arsenal, keeps the ball in high areas for Arsenal, which means they create back quality chances, and of course drags centre-backs out of position, which creates space, drags other players out of position because he likes to dart on the wing. And he was key in the Palace game, the Burnley game, the West Ham game, the Newcastle game. I think since the break, Kai Havertz has been looking really good. I think that Lens game marks a change for Kai Havertz, where he got the goal, he played well, he got that confidence, and I think he was a player that came from Chelsea that was shattered with confidence, but you could see that Kai Havertz is getting better and better and better and better as well. I still think, to conclude on Kai Havertz, he's suited to the bigger games. I think right now the games are bigger for Arsenal because it's must win every game, and he's suited against the bigger teams in maybe a more of a centre forward role. And I think long term Arsenal might want a left centre mid, and then Kai Havertz is in that free sort of centre forward role. I think in the smaller games Arsenal may want to just have a lot more of the ball and break down teams a little bit more on the floor. But I think you're seeing what Kai Havertz brings to Arsenal. Arteta wanted unpredictability, and Kai Havertz brings unpredictability to Arsenal, and that I think is why he's key, because a lot of question marks around the signing, myself included. But as a Manchester United fan, looking at Arsenal's recent performances, I understand why some people can't see what Havertz does, because a lot of it is off the ball. But he is really bringing a lot, and you've got to look at what Arteta's goal is, unpredictability. Havertz is that.